All right, everyone, there's an underlayer of the current political situation in the United States that's very interesting. Normally, VP picks, running mates, they're sort of behind closed doors a little bit, like you remember with Pence. Yeah, he debated Kamala Harris, and he made a few of speeches and events and so forth, but, it was pretty diminutive, and Kamala sort of, she hid for the most part as well, not without good reason. Currently, you've got a weird situation where people are almost talking about the running mates as much as they are the presidents. I think I know why. Of course, Trump is on the older side. He's in his 70s. Kamala Harris is a psycho and a goon, so, if she ever ends up... And they're trying to astroturf, by the way. She needs additional security. Unlike Trump, who actually got shot, she needs additional security because she's a black female. BIPOC female, rather. They think that India and Africa are the same thing, apparently. So actually kind of racist when you think about it. So the running mates are taking a disproportionate role within this election. There's a lot of news about J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, and it's like, totally competing. At this point, Walz is cast off correctly as being a socialist. I mean, he literally praised socialism, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Talking about some of his past policy statements and Minnesota governor, so he does have a track record, etc., etc. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance, you remember when he was first chosen, there was a huge astroturfing campaign to try to smear him. And then Walz actually was involved in coining the moniker weird to describe him. I do not find J.D. Vance to be weird. There are policies that he has championed that I don't agree with. But otherwise, I don't really have a problem with him. While I would have chosen Tulsi Gabbard as my running mate if I were Donald Trump, J.D. Vance was acceptable. Beyond he'd be on the B-plus stage. He's a good running mate. I have no problem with him. I know that if Donald Trump keels in office, I think J.D. Vance can probably do the job. The problem is that if Kamala's in there, number one, I wouldn't like Kamala and her policy. She's an extremist. But then if she were to keel, which, I would pray not to happen at that point, then Walz becomes president. And he's even more extreme. He's even more nutso. He's literally a self-professed socialist. He's basically Bernie Sanders' dollar store brand. And he needs to be called that. But he's getting dragged, thankfully. Link in the description. Archived, of course, talking about his military service, the stolen valor aspect, which is pretty bad. It's not going to go over well, I think, with veterans. That's an important vote that you want to court, people that are in or were in the military. There's a lot of them. I think that Kamala has screwed the pooch on that one. You want to court younger voters, but then you have a ticket that is openly hostile towards Gaza protesters. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people say, you know what, fuck you. I'm voting Donald Trump just for shits and giggles. I have a feeling that might happen in Michigan and Minnesota, actually, at this point. You're only a few weeks into the Kamala campaign. She's made a series of extreme blunders. Being dismissive and even hostile towards Gaza protesters, that's not good. It's not a good idea. The whole wokeness screed where she cackles, every time that she cackles is a bad time for her. And I think choosing Tim Walz was a bad idea. I would have gone with Mark Kelly. Of course, you can't go with Shapiro because there are too many people who are legitimately anti-Jewish within the Democratic Party. Even though Jews generally break for the Democrats, there was one poll the other day that showed that Trump was leading with them. You're going to get crushed if that continues. Just to be clear, maybe she was trying to reabsorb the Jewish vote with her anti-Gaza protester statement there where she's like, I'm the one talking right now. Get me some chitlins and collard greens. It's like watching a movie from 1935. Fucking weird. If anyone's weird, it's Kamala Harris. Or you could say bizarre, psychopathic, completely goddamn unhinged, warmongering pig. It's basically what she is. Tim Walz somehow is arguably worse in some departments. Economically speaking, at least, he's definitely further left of Kamala, and Kamala's quite far to the left of Joe Biden, and we've already seen the policies of Bidenomics and their results. Put two and two together, I don't think that this is necessarily going to be the best thing for our country. I think it would be bad. Watching him get dragged, though, it's like, please somebody fact check this, for example, for me. Is it actually true that at some time he had to get his stomach pumped because of some sort of prank or hazing ritual in college or whatever, the military, whatever it was, where he drank horse semen? Because I see pictures of that, but I can't necessarily vouch for the fact that they're real newspaper clips from back in the 70s or whatever it was. I can't vouch for that. Is it believable? Yeah, based on his track record with regards to, reproductive issues and things like that, sexuality in general, I can believe that Tim Walz drank a gallon of horse semen and had to get his stomach pumped. But I can't vouch for the fact that that's real. It may just be a joke. Please somebody DM me on Twitter, fact check it for me, because I don't know if it's real. I'm getting conflicting reports over whether it's a meme or not. Not that that's like some great terrible thing. I mean, if you want to drink horse semen, as long as you didn't molest the horse or something, if it's just like you got it from a farm and it's part of a hazing ritual, okay, well, youthful indiscretion, he can claim that. I want to see him address that. Can you imagine how surreal it would be? A vice presidential candidate has to come out on a national stage in a presser and say, yes, well, here are the circumstances behind my stomach getting pumped back in 1985 or whatever it was. I mean, it would be more surreal than the time that Donald Trump alluded to the size of his dick on a stage because Marco Rubio was trying to troll him. It would make that look like a fucking kindergarten tea party or something like that. It'd be totally normal. Walz getting dragged is good, and I hope he gets dragged more. And I hope that he's a drag on the ticket, and I suspect that he will be. He's more well-spoken than Kamala, so he's got that. But he's got a track record as being pretty far to the left. So you're effectively trying to wine and dine left-wing voters while alienating chunks of them. This is pure Kamala, by the way. I mean, that's not even Walz's fault. He was probably he was sweating bullets behind the stage when Kamala was saying that to the Gaza protesters. He's like, no, please don't do that. No. Oh, shit. Ah, fuck. I'm not going to get to be vice president, am I? Oh my God, I teamed up with a psychopath. I'm sure that whoever teamed up with her would, by the way, regret it later on anyway. His political career, if they lose, is fundamentally over, by the way, and that's probably for the better, since, again, he's basically the gubernatorial version of Bernie Sanders. This is some severe dragging. I don't know whether he actually got his stomach pumped from horse semen, but he has stolen valor. He did get demoted for abandoning his troops. Again, if you're in a command position, it's a little bit different from just being a grunt. If you're a grunt and you don't want to re-enlist because you think you're going to get shot at, okay, perfectly understandable. But when you're a command sergeant in the U.S. Army, and there are people relying on you and your leadership, which you have shown because you did get promoted to that rank, don't abandon your troops and then run for office. I'm surprised it never became an issue before now. It's news to me. Nobody outside of Minnesota, of course, knew who the hell he was anyway. Maybe that's the whole thing. Everyone knows who Josh Shapiro is. And, Kelly, relatively well known, and everyone knows who Buttigieg is, of course. They were all being considered. And Bashir, kind of, sort of. But nobody knew I didn't know who Tim Walz was, honestly, before I started looking him up when he was on the short list. And I was like, oh shit, she chooses him, she's definitely swinging far to the left. They'll try to hide it before the election, by the way. They'll go moderate mode in order to appeal to the independent voters. Don't let them get away with it. You know that once they get into office, if Biden can snap so far to the left economically with the infrastructure and the student loans and shit like that, can you imagine how far to the left they're going to be if they get elected? You have a self-professed socialist as the running mate for someone who has consistently been id poll and economically to the left of Joe Biden. If Joe Biden can spend several $1 trillion of funny money on a couple of bridges, what do you think Kamala's going to do? Especially with the advice of Tim Walz in the White House. It'd be a shit show, a freak show. It would be like going to the circus 100 years ago. That's about all. Peace out.